This is Matthew Kratter from Trader University, and today I want to talk about the Lightning Network, and I want this to be an introductory guide. It's a very, very exciting thing that's been going on with the Lightning Network, and a lot of people outside of the Bitcoin space are not aware of it. In fact, you'll often hear Hex and Bcash and BSV supporters and other altcoin supporters say that the Lightning Network is vaporware. And as you're going to see in this video, nothing could be further from the truth. And anyone who says it's vaporware, you really need to question their credibility from that point forward. So what is the Lightning Network? The Lightning Network is a fast, inexpensive network, what you might call a layer 2 solution that's been built on top of the Bitcoin network. The Lightning Network, it's an open network of nodes, and I'm going to show you a map of that in a second. An open network of nodes running Lightning Network software, and it uses the same digital asset as the Bitcoin network, and this is very important. It uses BTC, and as such, it's bound by the same scarcity. So this is how the Lightning Network works, at least how you can set up a channel. Let's say Paul and Mary get together. They decide to lock up some BTC on the base layer using a multi-sig address. Now this is something you don't need to do unless you want to run a Lightning node, but they lock up some Bitcoin on the base layer. And the important thing about this is this ensures that the Lightning Network does not create or print any new Bitcoin. So now Paul and Mary have this channel, this layer 2 channel between themselves that they can use to send Bitcoin back and forth to each other. Now if Mary has a channel with Susan, Paul can send Bitcoin to Susan via Mary. So he sends it to Mary and she sends it to Susan. So you can think of each of these names as being nodes on the network. And the connections between these nodes are called channels. And obviously the nodes, they're not given personal names like this, but can be quite anonymous. So let's say you have a situation where Paul sends some Bitcoin to Bill. He sends it to Mary. Mary sends it to Susan. So these are each channels, a channel between Paul and Mary, a channel between Mary and Susan, and a channel between Susan and Bill. If Mary is connected to Susan and Susan is connected to Bill, then Paul can send Bitcoin through the Lightning Network to Bill. And again, all this routing takes place automatically. You don't need to manually do this if you're running a Lightning node. Now, Mary has no idea, in the case of this transaction, Mary has no idea that the Bitcoin that she received from Paul and sent to Susan is eventually making its way to Bill, unless Bill knows Mary in real life and tells her. So the Lightning Network provides a reasonable degree of privacy as well, though this itself is a deep rabbit hole that I'll have to explore sometime on this channel. The other thing, in addition to being fairly private, the Lightning Network is extremely fast. Usually you get your transactions done in milliseconds, so it's very good for buying a cup of coffee, for example, and it's very cheap. Transaction fees are usually a few pennies at most, and often quite less than a penny. So does this look like vaporware to you? I have to ask you. Here is a global map of the Lightning Network. This is put out by a Lightning Network Explorer that sort of crawls the network and tries to see all the visible nodes. And you can see there are 15,571 nodes and 78,000 channels. In other words, connections between these nodes. There's another version that's put out by 1ML that has similar numbers, 17,000 nodes and 81,000 channels. And the network capacity is how much Bitcoin is locked up in these channels. So currently about 5,120 Bitcoin, which is about just over $100 million worth of Bitcoin. Now this sounds like a very small amount of money, especially for a payment processing network. But as we're going to see, this is the amount of Bitcoin that's locked up in there, and we don't really know how much value is being transacted because the Bitcoin can go back and forth in the channels without anyone knowing what's going on inside of there. If you're finding this video helpful so far, I just ask you to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, maybe share this video with a few friends as well. Now, unlike the Bitcoin network itself, unlike the base layer, the Lightning Network transactions are not broadcast to the entire network. And as a result, no one knows exactly how many transactions take place on it. We can see these maps of channels and nodes, but we don't really know what's happening inside of those channels. And the other thing to pay attention to is when we see the number of channels here, for example, 81,000 channels, these are only channels that have publicly announced themselves and that are connected to nodes that are connected to the service that's doing the Lightning Network search, which is 1ML. I'm not sure what that stands for. And so there may be many, many more channels out there that we don't know about. We see approximately 81,000 channels here, but the true number of channels could be 85,000, it could be 82,000, or it could be 850,000. We don't really know. And we also, as I said, we don't know how much value is being transacted on the Lightning Network. We know that about $100 million worth of Bitcoin is tied up there, but we don't know, because the Bitcoin's being sent back and forth between the nodes in these individual channels, we don't know how much value is being transacted in total. So for example, node A and node B, instead of calling them by personal names, we'll just call them node A and node B. These are nodes on the Lightning Network that have a channel between themselves. They could send Bitcoin back and forth between themselves 1 million times a month, and no one would know. Now at some point, node A and node B may choose to settle up. And this is a metaphor you'll often hear that obviously comes from the bar analogy, where you open up a tab and then you have a few drinks and your friends have a few drinks. And then at the end of the evening, you close the tab. And this is somewhat similar between similar with closing a Lightning channel. So node A and node B may decide that they're done transacting with each other. And again, you don't need to send the money just between node A and node B. This is just one channel, and it can be used to send Bitcoin to anyone on the Lightning Network. But this particular channel, the participants node A and node B may decide to close their channel, and in order to do this, they need to do an on-chain transaction. And this is a little bit like you settling up your bar tab with the bartender at the end of the evening. So they close their channel by doing an on-chain transaction on the Bitcoin base layer itself, on the blockchain itself, on layer 1. Now, the nice thing about the Taproot upgrade that we got last year is it makes it impossible to distinguish a Lightning channel closing, and this is a multi-sig transaction because they do an opening transaction of 2 multi-sig to basically lock the Bitcoin up on the base layer, and to undo that, you do another transaction. And the nice thing about Taproot is it makes it impossible to distinguish a Lightning channel closing from a simple Bitcoin spend, which is basically where you spend some Bitcoin and get some change back. And so on chain, it's going to look, no one will be able to tell that this was ever a Lightning channel closing. So this will help going forward with Bitcoin privacy as well. Now, there are a few misconceptions when it comes to the Lightning Network, just as there are people who say that Blockstream controls the Bitcoin network, which if you understand anything, you know what a lie that is. Likewise, the Lightning Network is not run and controlled by Lightning Labs, which is a private company, a private corporation. The Lightning Network is not a private network that you need permission to join. It's open to everyone, just like the Bitcoin network. You just need a Lightning wallet or set up a Lightning node to participate. Now, there are different implementations of the software, of this Lightning Network software. And we have LND, which is the most common, that's put out by Lightning Labs. We have Core Lightning. I think that's what it's called now. It used to be called C Lightning, which is put out by Blockstream. And we have 𝐂𝐲, which is put out by 𝐂𝐲. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And then there are a few others. I think Electrum has an implementation of Lightning as well. But the thing is, all of these are interoperable. They all follow, all these implementations of the Lightning Network software, they all follow the same general standards, which is called BOLT. I think it's a great name for it, which stands for Basis of Lightning Technology. So these can all talk to each other. Now, again, if you want to use the Lightning Network, the simplest way, you can download the Moon Wallet on your phone. And the nice thing about the Moon Wallet, as I've demonstrated on this channel before, is you can use it to send Bitcoin transactions. You can also use it to send Lightning transactions over the Lightning Network, and it lets you choose and sort of switch between the two, which is very convenient. If you use Cash App, it was just announced yesterday that Cash App users can now both send and receive Bitcoin payments over the Lightning Network. So these are two ways that you can personally interact with the Lightning Network without having to set up your own node. There's some very exciting things being built on top of Lightning that I've talked about a little bit in the past. This is very exciting. I need to still download this and give it a try. There's this company called Impervious, and they have built a browser that runs on top of Lightning. And I'll link to this below so you can download it and try it out. Basically, it's the world's first Bitcoin Lightning native web browser. And this is very exciting in terms of being censorship resistant, for example. So this is how it's been working. We have layer 1, which took many years to develop in Bitcoin and to really let it take hold. We have layer 2, which is a Lightning network. You could almost think of it as more of a medium of exchange function built on top of the base layer, which serves more of a store of value, final settlement value, where basically if you do large transactions and you want to certain guarantees of final settlement, you want to use the base layer. If you're buying a cup of coffee, you could use layer 2, which is much faster and cheaper, and all these layer 2 transactions eventually settle back on layer 1. And then we have things like the impervious browser, which are basically apps that are built on top of the Lightning Network. And this is very exciting. Bitcoin is scaling in layers just like the internet did. A lot of other cryptos, they tried to rush things. They tried to do everything at the base layer, and they always end up with high fees, as well as a bloated blockchain that's just too large for the average node runner to deal with. And this is why Ethereum, for example, everyone outsources their nodes to large corporations like Infura, and you end up having to trust them instead of verifying. So Bitcoin has done this the right way. Bitcoin has chosen the right path. And now you probably see why altcoin supporters have to keep calling the Lightning Network vaporware. This is a question I've asked in a previous video. Where is Ethereum Beach? Where is Cardano Beach? Where is Hex Beach? These are the only beaches that might have this name, are the ones that are owned by those founders who become very wealthy by dumping their tokens on you. But we have Bitcoin Beach, which is for the people. And if you go to the Bitcoin Beach website, Bitcoin Beach obviously in El Salvador, you can see that locals can pay their utility bills, phone, water, electric. They can pay their medical bills, and they can buy food and even buy haircuts using Bitcoin over the Lightning Network. So this is something that is being used by real people in the real world. It's not just being used by Silicon Valley VCs and crypto geeks. It's being used to help real people solve real world problems. And eventually this is what's going to happen. You're going to have all this stuff running off of Bitcoin. You'll have all these different layers. You'll even have internet browsers running off of it. And you won't have to understand how this works in the same way you can use the internet without really understanding how everything works. It just basically works. But the difference here is it's going to be much more censorship resistant, much more permissionless, and open to the world as the new global currency. If you found this video helpful, be sure to hit that subscribe and like button. Hit the notification bell if you want to be notified when I publish my next video. And let me know your questions and comments in the comment section below. Thanks all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.